I will now call to order the November 21st, 2017 Fridley Public Schools School Board Business Meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We'll begin with the approval of the agenda with suggested motions and resolutions.
Move to approve the agenda?
Second.
It's been a motion by Riddle, seconded by Sampson to approve the agenda for November 21st, 2017. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion passes. Before we get into our business items this evening, I'd like to take a few moments and share with our community some events that have occurred over the past month. The school board would like to take a moment and share with our community two recent tragedies that have severely affected two families at Fridley Middle School. On October 18th, two middle school students were involved in a car accident on University Avenue and 85th Avenue in Blaine. These students were taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. We're grateful to share that one of the students returned to school last week. The other student is still receiving medical care in the hospital. On November 9th, one of our fifth grade students was hit by a car on 61st Avenue and was taken to the Hennepin County Medical Center with life-threatening injuries. Our student is still in the hospital in critical condition. As you can imagine, this is a very difficult time for our two families. These two students are members of our school family, and their accidents greatly affected students and staff. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with them as they receive care in the hospital and with their parents and families. We are all wishing them well and ask that you keep these families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. We'll now move on to Spotlight on Recognition.
For the month of November, it's my pleasure to introduce the Employee of the Month, Casey Nelson. Casey is a custodian at Hayes Elementary, and here's what John Piotrowski says about him. Casey is the one on the left up there, if you're not familiar. Casey worked fiercely this summer to make Hayes a welcoming building for staff and students. This fall, his work ethic shined in all he did, from shining the floors to the clean sinks to setting the rooms back in order for the fall. While Summer Learning Academy was being held, he was present and available and recognizing the needs of the students that we were serving during the summer. At the start of the year, no task was too small or too big for Casey to finish, and his efforts to create a nurturing environment for our students, staff, and families were evident in every corner of the school. His commitment to the staff and students at Hayes Elementary and the district is simply commendable. He is very deserving of the honor of Employee of the Month for November. Congratulations, Casey.
Very good. Good job, Casey. Next, we have superintendent and staff reports. We'll begin with the election results. Okay, there were a total of 242 ballots cast. Unfortunately, it's a very small voter turnout with nothing else on the election but school board. So Mary Kay Delville had 172 votes, Carol Thornton, 182, Ivana Stark, 177 votes, and there were 20 write-in candidates. So congratulations to our two current board members who have been reelected, and to Ivana, who will be coming on board in January. Okay, we'll move on. World's Best Workforce, Amina.
Good evening. As you know, I am more than pleased to share with you the school district's results of the World's Best Workforce Report, and to also share the results of our three-year Achievement and Integration Plan. Let's see. Go. The World's Best Workforce goals are provided to us from the Minnesota Department of Education. They are focused on 5 areas. Kindergarten readiness, making sure that we have a benchmark for students that are entering kindergarten. Reading well by grade 3, that all of our students are reading at grade level by the end of grade 3. Reducing achievement gaps between the disparities in reading and math between subgroups. College and career readiness, setting a benchmark that indicates our students are ready for college and careers as they matriculate through, and high school graduation rates. And so those are the 5 areas that we've been working on, and that we continue to focus all of our program goals on those particular 5 areas. All of our program goals, Title I, Title III, Indian Ed, Read Well by Grade 3, Achievement and Integration, QComp, and including our individual building goals. These are the results of our 5 goals. I have also indicated the different tools that are used to benchmark those. For kindergarten readiness, we used our 4-year-old program last year with over 80 students. They used a letter sounds assessment. The goal was to have 45% of the students ready for kindergarten at the end, in the spring of their 4-year-old program. We actually met that goal and exceeded it with 62% of those 4-year-olds demonstrating that they were ready for kindergarten by this assessment. And the letter sounds is actually a pre-reading assessment. In our Read Well by Grade 3, we used the Measures of Academic Progress reading exam with all of our 3rd graders. Our goal was to have 40% of our students reading at a basic literacy target of 3rd grade proficiency. We did miss that target. We did have 36% of our students who were reading at that proficiency level. With our achievement gap, this is also the same goal that we use for our achievement integration plan. We use the Minnesota comprehensive assessments, and we're measuring the reduction of the gap between the students who are eligible for free and reduced lunch and those who are not eligible for free and reduced. And so we had 2 targets there. The goal, reducing that gap to 24%, 24.3%. Our result was just 1%, or 1.5% off the mark with a 25.8%. And so we did see some reduction in that gap, but not quite as much as we had hoped over that time. Our reading goal was to reduce the gap to 26.8%. Our result was 30.9%, and so we saw less of a reduction of that gap between our students with eligible for free and reduced lunch and those not in their reading scores on the MCAs. For our college and career readiness goal, we use the ACT, and we measure the scores for our 11th grade students. Last year was the 2nd year we provided the ACT at no charge to students for all students in 11th grade. And we had hoped to hit a goal of 36% of our students demonstrating the score of a 22 on the reading subtest on the ACT. Our results were a 26%. So we continue to strengthen that, and we will again administer and provide the ACT for all 11th graders this year. Our high school graduation rate, our goal was 80%, hoping that 80% of our students would graduate with their on time with their 4-year cohort. The results were an 85.8% of our students graduating with their class, and so that was a very strong improvement. We continue to set that goal farther. We know that high school diploma is one of those initial keys for success as students are entering the workplace, whether they're going on to post-secondary, and that we want every every student possible to have that. One of the notes I want to make about high school graduation is, though, even though we had 85.8% of our students who graduated with their cohort in that 4 years on time, we also had a significant percentage of our students, about 8% of our students, who graduated with their cohort, graduated with a 5-year cohort, and then additional students who graduated after 6. And so what we find is that students who may have had obstacles in graduating with their 4-year cohort, the Fridley School District continues to offer opportunities for students to walk away with that high school diploma, whether it's through credit recovery, whether it's through additional time in the transition program, or whether it's through finishing up with our alternative learning, our area learning center in an alternative setting, making sure that kids know that they have the opportunity to continue on, and that just because they didn't graduate with their cohort at the 4 years, there's plenty of opportunities for them to continue. In alignment with that, we have been working on our Achievement Integration Plan. The purpose of the Achievement Integration Plan is really to pursue that racial and economic integration, to make sure that there are opportunities for students that are equitable, and that it will help reduce the achievement gap. And we really are looking specifically at reducing those academic disparities that can be found between various subgroups, both racial and ethnic. The Achievement Integration Plan is a 3-year plan. We wrote the plan beginning in the 2013-14 school year, and we had benchmark goals along the way, which I've reported each year for you. But this was wrapping up that particular plan, and we submitted a new one to MDE for beginning this year for the 2017-18 year. But taking a look at how we wrapped up that plan, we had the goal of reducing the achievement gap between free and reduced lunch eligible and not eligible. And the results that I shared with you in the World's Best Workforce for last year flow directly into this goal. Over the 3 years, we needed to reduce it by 4%. Our reading results did not result in a reduction of the gap over the 3 years. The math results resulted in a reduction of the gap of 2.5% over the 3 years. And so last year we saw a small reduction in the reading, but the year before we did not. And so when it was all said and done, there was a 0 results for the reading. We did have as one of our goals, because it is about opportunities, academic opportunities, is to increase the representation of Black students in our IB diploma class. We started out at the beginning of the 3 years with 18.7% of our students, Black students, participating in IB classes. And as a point of reference, Black students represent over 35% of our overall population, and so this was not very representative. We wanted to increase it to 32.7%. The results at the end of the 16-17 school year was 38.8%. And as we see the percentage of Black students having a higher representation in our school district, this is almost direct proportionality. So making sure that we have that participation for all of our students. The final achievement integration goal has to do with our IB magnet school implementation. This is part of our collaboration with the Northwest Suburban Integration School District, and making sure that there are opportunities for families to choose which magnet school that they want to attend, and offering that academic opportunity for students within the 7-district collaborative. Our goal was to maintain about between 80 and 100% enrollment of spaces with Northwest Suburban Magnet School, and we looked at it as a 4-year average. Our results was 130%, 36% with 394 students being our average over the 4 years of participation in the magnet school process. We continue to be a draw. People are very much attracted to the IB magnet school program in Fridley, and continue to take advantage of the opportunities to participate with Northwest Suburban through that. Those numbers do not include the inclusion of our 2 elementary schools. This is only our 2 high schools, our 2 secondary schools, our high school and our middle school, because the elementaries weren't part of the 3-year, they weren't magnet schools when we began the 3-year program. So the 394 only represent the middle school and high school students, and that number continues to hold strong. So. The World's Best Workforce and our Achievement Integration Plans are intertwined, as we were asked to create a new 3-year plan for our Achievement Integration Plan for 2017 through 2020. We were directed to make sure that those two programs were linked. Our goals for Achievement Integration Plan for the next 3-year plan, we have continued to work toward the reduction of the achievement gap in reading and math, and we continue to extend that goal and to stretch ourselves to make sure that we are creating programming and opportunities that are equitable and can show great reduction. The goal that we did add into our Achievement Integration Plan for this next 3 years is also a positive climate goal. I know that that's one of a board priority as well, is a positive and safe climate. And so we have identified one area, which is to reduce our disproportionality of suspensions between our Black students and our white students. As we examine our data, we know that there is a recognizable and significant gap there. And so we are beginning to do some of that work on how do we make that disproportionality significantly reduced. And so those are our 2 areas for our Achievement Integration Plan going forward. The World's Best Workforce will continue with those 5 goals, and we'll continue to look at the kindergarten readiness, grade 3 reading, college and career readiness, achievement gap, and high school graduation for those particular pieces. If you or anyone else has any questions about the World's Best Workforce or Achievement Integration, you will find all of our reports and our progress reports posted on a website under Teaching and Learning, but you are certainly welcome to contact me directly, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you would have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Amina. Okay. Now we move on to the business action items. We'll begin with the resolution accepting gifts. Whereas School Board Policy 706 establishes guidelines for the acceptance of gifts to the district, and whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 states the school board may accept a gift, grant, or devise of real or personal property only by the adoption of a resolution approved by 2/3 of its members. Therefore, be it resolved that the school board of Fridley Public Schools accepts with appreciation the following gifts received by the school district. The following persons donated to Fridley Middle School Band Program for a total of $50. Kevin and Tammy Holthaus. The following persons donated to Hayes Elementary School: underwear, hats, gloves, shirts, pants, sweatshirts, 20 boys' winter jackets, and 19 girls' winter jackets. Nancy Anderson, Margene Swanson, Pat Erickson. The following persons donated to Fridley High School Grit Program for a total of $112.50, and that was Chipotle. Is there a motion?
Move the resolution.
Second?
It's been a motion by Sampson, seconded by Provito, to accept the gifts and thank the donors for their contributions. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Dalville?
Aye.
Ms. Lindblad?
Aye.
Ms. Parado?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Ms. Sampson?
Aye.
Ms. Thornton?
Aye.
And the resolution passes. And now we have second reading and adoption of policies. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been a motion by Provito, seconded by Thornton, to accept the second reading and adoption of policies 104, 401, 404, 406, and 418. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. The consent agenda, and this includes routine action items, minutes of the regular school board meeting and work session held on October 17th, 2017, minutes of the special school board meeting held on November 15th, 2017, monthly financial reports, new contracts, amendments, leaves of absence, terminations, resignations and retirements, and approval of the annual 2017-18 World's Best Workforce Plan.
I move we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Who seconded that?
Delvo.
Oh, okay. Motion by Sampson, seconded by Delvo to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Now we have written information.
In your packet tonight is November 1st student enrollment information that we have each month. On page 55 is the sheet that we spend our most of the time looking at, and we have stabilized from our October and November, slightly down, but still above our projections. Again, in December now, we'll begin to look at our revised budget. We will bring that revised budget to you in January. And of course, so December numbers and of course, January 1 numbers will be a factor in that. Tonight, with Amina's presentation, she talked about reaching our goal in terms of access for students to be a part of the IB magnet programs. And on page 58 is the a number of students that we get in and out from the variety of school districts. Again, this is just a weekly or a monthly report that we give you, and also behind that scenes we can tell what grade level they're in and those kinds of things. So all of these pieces may not necessarily be on your radar screen all the time, but we are certainly looking at them. So I give you this report for November.
Okay, thank you. First reading of policies, expense reimbursement. Mr. Hammer.
Yeah, so our policy 412 expense reimbursements addresses reimbursements to employees and others that incur expenses that are pre-authorized in advance for purposes of doing business for Fridley Public Schools. We've made adjustments in section 3 to adjust some practices around the amount of days required for reimbursement, and a modification in section 5B that addresses a reference that we changed from an IRS publication to the Minnesota Department of Management and Budget Commissioner's plans. So we put this policy for you for first reading and your approval.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to that next meeting. Reports from school board members. The first item was the Northeast Metro 916 board meeting held on November 1st, 2017. That meeting, there were a few things that I just want to share with you. The first was a Summer Institute pilot that was held last summer. It was a program done in St. Francis, and Northeast Metro conducted this in order to train teachers and paraprofessionals on ways to enhance communication, instruction, and do more proactive interventions in the level 3 special ed programs. And the goal is to reduce the number of referrals of the district students to the 916 programs. And based on results, I would expect this to be rolled out to other districts in the future. The new building that's being built in Little Canada, the Cora Education Center, that's within the boundaries of the Roseville School District. It's on schedule and scheduled to open fall of 2018. There's one thing being promoted at 916 right now through December 6th that it's called the Make It Okay campaign. And this is an anti-stigma campaign that encourages individuals to talk more openly about mental health issues. And by breaking the silence, we can help our friends, neighbors, loved ones, and colleagues feel understood and supported. Okay, and then the Association of Metropolitan School Districts board meeting held on November 3rd. Mary Kay?
Yes, we are in the Metropolitan School Districts are in the process of determining their legislative platform, and they have a draft proposal outlining what that platform will be. There's 6 general areas: stabilizing education funding, reforming and stabilizing the Teacher Retirement Association Fund, increasing and diversifying the teacher workforce, enhancing taxpayer equity, reducing mandates and enhancing local controls, and ensuring safe and modern school facilities. So those are the platforms that they will be actively working on at the legislature this year, although there's always some things come up that they didn't plan for that I'm sure they'll engage in as well, but that's the focus.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then, Chris, the Northwest Suburban Integration School District Joint Powers Board meeting held on November 15th.
Yeah, what we had talked several items, as Amina had brought up in her presentation. We talked a little bit about the AI plans as the Northwest Suburban. Obviously, we put together a final AI plan for all of the 7 districts as one, so we'll be looking at the review of that. So we talked a little bit about how that's working throughout the Northwest Suburban districts. We talked a little bit, obviously, the big thing going on at the moment with Northwest is the magnet lottery program that the whole application program is open starting in October, runs through December for the first placement. When they'll actually run the initial lotteries, they'll actually do a secondary lottery, generally, typically around March timeframe, so there's that. And just to piggyback again on something Amina talked about at that 394, if we look at the entire numbers for what Fridley District gets through open enrollment of the students, we actually bring in about 617 students from the 7 district consortium through that program. So, and I do have breakdowns of every school that they're going to, where they're coming from, also where our students are going through who actually choose to go to other districts also. So if you're interested, I have that, those numbers here also for you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I said, and the one other minor thing that we did, or not minor, it's a major thing, we did actually approve the induction of Coon Rapids High School and their new Center for Engineering and Math Sciences program. They already, Anoka Hennepin already has one in Blaine, and it was one of those things that they had seen as the Blaine folks are no longer able to take enough students. So we thought it would be a very good for the whole consortium to have another location for that programming, so.
Okay, thank you. Important future school board dates. Meet and confer with teachers will be held November 28th, 7 a.m. at the Fridley High School Tech Center. AMSD board meeting December 1st, 7 a.m. at the Ties Conference Center. Northeast Metro 916 board meeting December 6th, 6 p.m. at Bel Air School. Schools for Equity and Education December 8th, 9 a.m. at the Radisson Hotel in Roseville. And the next Fridley Public Schools board meeting will be held December 19th. Work session at 5:30 p.m. City Hall Conference Room A. Truth and Taxation will be at 7 p.m. City Hall Conference Room A. The business meeting follows 7:30 p.m. City Council Chambers. And with that, I look for a motion for adjournment.
Chair, may I just add one date that's not on there? The Minnesota School Board Association has their annual delegate assembly, so we'll be meeting December 1st and December 2nd, and so we'll be discussing and voting on the platform for the Minnesota School Board Association on that date.
Okay, thank you, Mary
And
Kay.
anyone is welcome to attend that as well.
Great, thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
It's been a motion by Sampson, seconded by Riddle to adjourn at 8:03 p.m. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the motion is adjourned.